Hi, my name is Julie Taylor. I'm making this video today for my godson Oliver, who's down in Virginia at law school. Oliver wanted to make gnocchi. He's been asking for a long time, so I promised him I would show him. This is probably the easiest way to do it, and let's get to what the ingredients are. Start with a large potato, one that's about a pound. You're going to bake it in the oven at about 400 because it's that big. For 45 minutes to an hour. You want to check it, make sure that it's cooked all the way through, and you can feel it or poke it. And then when you're going to take it out, wait for it to cool off a little bit before you start to handle it and peel it and put it into the bowl. So scoop all the flesh out into your bowl. You want a pretty good sized bowl because you're going to be mixing some flour in here and some eggs and salt so as not to make a huge mess. Get all of it out. And you certainly want it as dry as possible. Then you're going to take your fork and mash it. Try to get it as sort of smooth as you can. A little bit of lump here and there is not a big problem. The next step is your egg. You need to beat the egg in a little cup or ramekin. Once your egg is thoroughly beaten, you're going to take a tablespoon and add 1 tablespoon at a time into the potato mixture. You're going to do 3 total. It gets tricky here because the moisture you're adding in has to actually be absorbed a little bit by the flour that you're going to put in afterwards. So I'm going to do 1 tablespoon at a time. It's kind of hard to measure an egg, kind of slimes out, but just do 1 at a time. Mix it into the egg thoroughly as you can. And you can see the mixture too. If it gets too sloppy or goopy, don't add all of it. Here's number 2. Mix it again. And I'm looking at this mixture, and to tell you the truth, I think it's wet enough. So I'm not going to do the 3rd. If it got too dry, I could add the rest of the egg in. But for now, this is what it should look like. The next step is flour. I have about 1/2 cup here, but you're going to be using about 1/4 cup in the mixture. And whatever's left over you can use as bench flour later because you're going to be rolling this out. So I'm going to start with about 1/3 of this. So it's a couple tablespoons. And I'm going to take it, mix it into the potato mixture. And what you're going to start looking for is sort of a gravelly look and also a look of pasta dough. Basically, if you can keep it together without moisture coming through on your fingers, then it's the proper consistency and the proper amount of flour. So as you can see, it's getting a little gravelly. Hopefully dry enough, and I mean, you can over flour it, so be careful, but this still needs a little bit more. Sometimes potatoes are, some are more watery than others, so you just really do have to use your judgment when you're doing this. Now, if you could take the dough and form it like that, that's perfect. Now comes the fun part. This is when we get to play with it. So you're going to turn the dough out onto a board or the countertop, whatever, and you're going to knead it a little bit with some extra flour because you do want it to be at the point where it's not sticking to your fingers or sticking. So just going to add a little more. Going to knead it just a bit like you would do, with bread or other pasta doughs. Don't want to add too much again because you want it to taste like potato and not just flour. So this is sort of feeling good, not too sticky. feels like it's ready to go. So we're gonna break off a piece, and like you did with your Play-Doh growing up, you're gonna make this into a long, thin tube. And you want it to be about 1 inch perhaps in diameter. And it's easier sometimes just to break off smaller pieces to do it. So basically roll it out. It doesn't have to be perfectly even, because what you're going to be doing is cutting it. So you're going to cut it, and again about inch pieces like that. And then what you do is you take your fork. Sometimes you can dip it back in the flour so you have some on there. You take the piece of gnocchi with your thumb, roll it off the fork. And you see how those little grooves are in there? That's where it catches all the sauce. Okay, so you just do that with all of your dough, roll it out into tubes, cut it into 1-inch pieces, and then you're going to take them off the tines of the fork. Once you've rolled all of your gnocchi out, put them on a tray or a plate with a little bit extra flour and put them in the freezer. That way they get a little bit stiffer so they're easier to cook. You can leave them in the freezer if you want and just keep them in a bag and use them for later. These gnocchi have been in the freezer for about 10-15 minutes, and you're going to take them out, and on your stove have ready a very shallow pan of water simmering lightly. You don't want it at a rolling boil because they will fall apart. You're going to remember to salt your water a little bit there, and then you're going to put the gnocchi in. They don't take but 3 minutes, if that. You're going to know they're done because they actually will float. I wouldn't leave the stove because they really do go that quickly. When they're done, as you can see, they float right to the top. So with a spider, slotted spoon, whatever you have, take them out. I'm putting them in melted butter. I do this most of the time with gnocchi, and you can put any herbs you'd like. So the gnocchi are in butter. They can be cooked till they're brown, or you can have them soft like they are. This is the finished dish. This gnocchi I've put with melted butter, salt, a little cracked black pepper, and basil. Sage is a great herb to use as well, or a red sauce, whatever you like on your pasta. So enjoy it, make it, have fun, and mangia.